Very good afternoon to all. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank NIER, especially your Director General and the team for inviting us to be here. It's always a joy to be in Japan, especially with the MOE and NIER. Well, first, let me send you my warmest greetings. I'm from the National Institute of Education, and we are in Nanyang Technological University. I will share with you first about the big picture of the educational landscape in Singapore, from the early phase and then to the recent development and how we think of education, especially in relation to school improvement and spaces in a complex world. Singapore is a very small country compared to Japan. And as you know, we have no natural resources in Singapore. So people are our only resource. And because of that, education is a very, very important key enabler. Professor Ikeda is correct. Singapore is actually is a city-state nation, very, very small. There are only, if you look at the total number, you see, we have only about 350 schools. Japan, you have so many thousands of schools. Total population of students is only 400,000, and we have 30,000 teachers. So, education is very, very important in Singapore. Actually, the government invests heavily in Singapore. It is the third largest share of Singapore national budget. And education is seen as a very important foundation for national survival, for economic success, and our national significance. Also, education is very important for social mobility and equity. I have a book called Teacher Education Frontiers, where I explain the nature of educational policies in Singapore. First, education in Singapore is always for the long haul. So actually, in the early years of our Singapore independence, we learned a lot from Japan, because Japan has a very good planning. And we learn from you about planning. So that is why Singapore and Japan, we share a very common way of policy making, which is we think in terms of a long-term plan. So in Singapore, when we think of like infrastructure, design, and things like that, we always ask ourselves for the long term. We think in terms of 10-year plan, then 5-year plan, 3-year plan, then short-term plan, you know? So planning is always for the long haul. And this is very important because when you plan for the long haul, you do not make changes just very quickly and waste resources, because you know what it is in the longer term. And I mentioned here that education is not only for the long haul, but the most important thing now is quality of education. Not just education, but quality of education. So we say that education in Singapore is very important for nation building. What do I mean by nation building? Two things. Number one, nation building means that education must have the right values. Number two, education needs to produce the right fundamentals and foundation for all citizens. And for the foundation, there are two important things. One is language. And Professor Ikeda has given you an excellent analysis of our bilingual and language policy. So language was very important for building multicultural cohesion, but language is also very important. If you saw how we use English language, it was because of the importance of being able to access scientific development, right? And also, you notice that if you saw in the timetable, numeracy is very important. So language, numeracy, very, very critical to lay the foundation. Secondly, education is for people's capacity for adaptation. Adaptation means to be flexible, right? And in order to be flexible, the key word is thinking, education for thinking. And I will explain to you how the educational evolution happened in this respect. Number 3, education must be for value creation. That means creativity. Education must give creativity to the next generation. And very importantly, education is for values preservation. Values preservation. Just like in Japan, I think tradition, culture, values are very, very important. But the different thing is that in Japan, you have a homogeneous, strong Japanese culture. But in Singapore, we have to have a multicultural values. And lastly, capacity for innovation. And the most important keyword for innovation is collaboration, which is the keyword also in today's conference. I have a book called Lee Kuan Yew and Education, which I wrote with my colleagues. Lee Kuan Yew, from the very early start, defined the aims of education. Very simply, he said the aims of education are 2 things. Number 1, a good person. Number 2, a good citizen. What does he mean by this? Good person means that education must cultivate the identity. So the good person is about the self. The good citizen is about others. So education first must prepare the self-identity to be confident and to be moral, and to be virtuous. Secondly, it must have others. Education must prepare people to serve others. And in order to serve the others, you must give them knowledge, skills, the best knowledge, the best skill. So in English, we say character and competence. So from the very early start, the founding Prime Minister said that education, number 1, must be for long-term future. And to develop every child to the fullest potential, and also to have a tomorrow thinking, future orientation. He said that the ideal student must be strong, robust, rugged, with tremendous qualities of stamina, you know. When I look at a Japanese student, I admire a Japanese student. You know why? Because when I go to a Japanese school, the most important thing that impressed me is everything is very neat, very orderly, but the best thing is when I see Japanese students clean the classroom. Singapore, the students don't clean the classroom, but you clean the classroom. It's very good for training the student to be diligent. You know, today young people, many things are provided for them. It's good for them to learn diligence, you know. So actually, Lee Kuan Yew, he wanted that diligence is very important in the education system. Last point, very important, that he laid the foundation, is that education is about never stopping learning. That means we have to learn, unlearn, relearn, always learning all the time. So very quickly, in the early phase of education, so Professor Ikeda has mentioned to you, in the 1965, early policy was concentrating on language policy, because it was very important for survival. When I start school in Singapore Independent, there were a lot of fighting. The Malay gangs, the Chinese gang were fighting. First thing when I went to school, the teacher tell us, when the bell ring, ring, hide under the table. Why? Because there were racial riots. People were fighting each other. That was 1965. So when Singapore went independent, we started with this problem. That's why what Professor Ikea analyzed was very important. Multicultural society, peace with all the race. And we moved from survivor to, in the 80s, we had streaming policy. The streaming policy was for only one reason, because Singapore was entered into industrialization. And in the industrialization, we have to create employment, right? Employment. We have to thank Japan a lot because in Singapore early industrialization, Japan was a very good partner for Singapore. We have many factories, Sony, many, yeah. So in that time, we need streaming because the streaming help the students get into the vocation so that they can serve the industry. Yeah, but the world changed. By the time of the 2000, Singapore was already into knowledge economy, knowledge-based economy. So you can see that with all these shifts, changes happen. Actually, in the early years, in the very early years, school infrastructure is very, very important. Every space is important. You may guess how old I am. I tell you this story because I was a deputy headmaster of a school before. I used to run a school, 1,600 students. Yeah, and in my time, the school that I run, I go to school 6:30 a.m. in the morning, and then first we take the junior school. That means secondary 1 and secondary 2, from 6:30 to 12:30, and they all go home. Then 1 o'clock, the high school student come from 1 o'clock to about 6:30. Yeah. And when I was the vice principal, I have to come at 6:30, and then I go home at 6:30. Yeah, that was the and. After 6:30, the school is still used because that time Singapore need to do adult education to train the people to, understand language so that they can work well in the factory. So at night time, they use the facility from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So school is used all the time from morning to night. This is an early time. Then of course, after industrialization in Singapore developed, so that's why we have a lot of infrastructure change, and to revise and school later on when Singapore has more money, school become single session school. So we build many more school, many more development. So we shifted from what we call the foundation stage to the industrial stage, and now to what we call multiple pathway. So for now, holistic learning, even preschool. Professor Ikia shared with you about preschool. Preschool is there, ACTAC, and of course the latest, full subject banding. So full subject banding, I will explain soon, replace streaming. And of course, now most importantly, is personalization. So you can see, right? You can see how we shift. Right? First, from national survival, then for efficiency for industrialization, and then knowledge-based economy. In knowledge-based economy, the most important word was thinking. And then we move from that to innovation phase. And that's why we call student-centric, values-driven. And now we call learning for life. So we shift from survival to thriving, now to human flourishing. So you can see in the most recent, so 2000, because it's knowledge-based economy, knowledge-based economy, we introduce education for thinking. Then we move towards the more global economy, which is education for collaboration, right? And then now, full subject banding and the new AI technology, it has to be education for personalization. Personalization. So all these are very important shift, and based on this shift, we think of the design and the infrastructure. So you can see the keyword here is thinking in the early IT master plan. Then the next IT master plan was on pedagogical innovation, which is engagement, collaboration. I did research about collaboration, and I think it's the same for Singapore student and Japan student. So when we want them to be more thinking and collaborative, we introduce project work, right? Project work. And we ask the students to work in teams, right? So the students will do a project, maybe 4 students, they group together, right? But when we study the project work, when the students do a collaboration, you know what is their collaboration? So they have 4 students, right? 4 students, A, B, C, D. You tell them collaborative learning. You know what they do? You give them the task, they divide. Actually, it's division of work, division of labor. So when they have a project to do, they say that A, you do this, B, you do this, C, you do this, D, you do this. And then they go and do. But there's not much collaboration. It's just division of labor. So we discover, hey, the students, when you talk about collaborative learning, they are doing division of labor. It's not collaborative. Collaborative learning means this. The A, B, C, D, when they come together, A talk to B, B talk to C, and they discuss. And they listen to A idea, B idea, they combine idea, right? So this kind of a learning doesn't happen easily, right? And especially you need to redesign the classroom so that they will talk, right? And have connection with each other. So even today, this is even more important because many students, they just talk on the iPhone. But most important skill now is eye-to-eye contact. When I was director of the Center for Research in Child Development, we do some research about the early years and also on the neuroscience. Actually, the neuroscience tells us most important thing for human being, human development, human cognition, human-to-human interaction. Human-to-human interaction is very important as from the baby. From the baby, the mother look at the eye, talk, right? But today, the mother look at the phone. Baby, wah, the mother look at the phone. The mother is not contacting the child eye to eye. So eye-to-eye contact actually is what makes us human. Eye-to-eye contact gives the child identity. Eye-to-eye contact makes us have identity and sympathy and empathy, you see? So it's very important for a collaborative space where people can meet and really talk to each other. Then you can have the real human factor, especially now with ChatGPT and everything. All the more, we have to preserve the human aspect of learning. And schools will continue to be important because schools are the place where students meet as people, not as avatar, as people. So this is so we have to shift to build facilities in a way to understand the psychology of how people meet, face to face. So early years was more just resourcing, getting resources, but now we go talk about collaboration, learning. But now we also need what we call individualization of a space. So in the new approach, we have to shift to understand that actually the curriculum has moved on in 3 different ways. Firstly, in our traditional way, curriculum is the content. Curriculum is the learning objective. It's what is written. That's number 1. But now we can see that curriculum is process. The process. Curriculum is the process. That is why teacher professional development is very important. The all of the curriculum can be done by ChatGPT. So number 1 is the content, but more importantly, the process. But number 3, the curriculum is the ecology. The curriculum is the environment. The environment becomes a very important teacher to the student. Then we have to ask ourselves, how do we make the environment a strong teaching ecology? So that's what we have transited from just equipping towards flexible school infrastructure and to emphasize the student learning space and flexible school classroom. So this is our EdTech Master Plan 2030. So as I mentioned, with this kind of environment, and we want to encourage creativity and very important relationship building. So last time educational system in Singapore was very simple, just one kind of pathway. But because now we changed to personalized learning, full subject blending, so many pathways. That's why it becomes very complex. Right? It's to cater for the different abilities and different ways to develop. So now finally, we have to ask ourselves, how do we prepare education in a complex world? So we have a new Prime Minister, and he emphasized that we must have conducive environment for teachers and students. Yeah, we always say we must have conducive environment for students, but now we say for teacher and student, because the teachers are very important. And also, we have to take care of special needs, disadvantaged students. So you can see in last year, a year before, even this year, actually the budget for development increased to continue to help. So to prepare for the future, educators need to understand three things. Number one, we have to understand what is happening in the world. Number two, we have to understand what is the real work. So experience in the real work is become very important. And thirdly, is what we're always talking now, we have to understand educational ecology. If you want to understand the world, in my center, I have invented a word called fierce in English. It's a bit hard to translate the acronym into Japan, because I use the English fierce to represent FEARS, 5 important trends. First, F stands for fractured world. The fractured world, because now you can see there's so much polarization across all levels of society. Number two, ecological deterioration, climate change. Just last year, 2025, just in Southeast Asia, we saw the largest cause of climate devastation. Floods that have never happened for 300 years. Can you imagine? For 300 years, it never happened in some place, the flood came, you know, and I think many more. So all due to climate deterioration. Number three, AI. Last year, 2025, everyone was talking about AI. And AI has changed our life and especially work. Yeah, and it's very fast. Even Amazon, Google, right? Big change, big retrenchment. So we have to understand that. And also, in the recent times, resilience breakdown, because there's more mental problem now in the young people than ever before. And lastly, social media. All the countries do not know what to do with social media. Australia, they try to ban social media for 16 years old and above. We study the policy carefully. But in Singapore, we do not do that because if you implement the policy, you have to carry out. You must be able to carry out. So we cannot do for society level, but school is within our control. So we ban social media in school. So from this year onwards, all the school, the students, they cannot use a phone in the class in school. They have to lock away, and so that in the recess time, in the break time, lunch time, they will talk. They will look at other in the eye, not in the phone, right? Because human interaction is so important. So with all these changes, it means that we want to do infrastructural change to support this. So our key idea is that in doing all this design, first, we must have the big picture. Secondly, we have to plan. Number 3, we have to think of the people. So, and in our master plan, we have 4 key factors. Number 1, student, to be future ready. Teachers, to be able to design. Number 3, school, to be good school intelligence system. And of course, system. Very important for the system network. It's not easy to have a good network system, trusted system. As you know, if students use open system, it's very dangerous. Disinformation, scam, virus, you know. So we have to have good network system. So this is in our current plan, right? So finally, I have a suggestion that because of AI, ChatGPT, our thinking have to change. And the most important thinking today is not the analytical thinking. Japanese, Singapore, we are very good at analysis. We can break a thing down into all the small parts and we teach. But the most important thinking now is the big picture thinking. Why? Because if you now ask about, even talk about school design policy, actually, you can ask ChatGPT, give me what is the school design policy in Finland, in Australia, in the US. You can ask 10 countries, and ChatGPT can do a summary for you. So you can now get big picture thinking. So the whole idea of our ACTAC is that we want to empower our students to have big picture thinking so that they can use AI to get big picture thinking, right? Secondly, it's not just analytical thinking. In fact, the most important thinking in analysis now is what we call metaphoric thinking. That means to use logic to apply it in a parallel way to another system. Because this is very important for collaboration. G for generative thinking. We have to keep students to continue to imagine, you know, not to just copy from the GPT system, but to imagine. H is human-centric. That means, as I said, you must meet people, eye to eye, not eye to machine, but eye to eye, human-centric. E is for ethical thinking. It's very important to understand ethics. And R is for reflective thinking. Reflective thinking means that you need to connect what you know, thinking, connect your mind to your heart. Connect yourself to other people. You have to reflect. How does things happen in your context, in your culture, right? And all this cannot be done by machine. So finally, we also have, I think, very important principle of AI wisdom. Number 1, AI wisdom is always teach our students to pay attention to accuracy and authenticity. Number 2, to understand that all knowledge and all system is biased. All newspaper is biased. Yeah. So now we ask, is Singapore biased? Yeah, we are biased. But biased for Singapore. Japan, you have to be biased. Biased for Japan. Because we have to teach the people, everyone is biased. You cannot just follow the source. But bias for what? You got to understand the bias. C, constraint. We cannot have dependence. If you have the dependence on the system breakdown, you have a lot of problems, right? And finally, ethics. So in short, we always work to think ahead, think again, and think across, which is what you do now in your conference, because you have your architect, you have education psychologists, and we all talk together. So this is just a small last point. So I'm now director of a new center, and in this center, we emphasize character, because it's very important now with AI that we have good values, understand purpose, social-emotional learning, and build a flourishing society. So that's about all I want to say. That therefore we can improve with big picture thinking, with alignment, with flexibility, good use of technology with human design, pay attention also to student voice, and making sure that at the end of the day, everything must help with equity and inclusiveness. Thank you very much.